Hi, and welcome to this week's Three Legs, Four Wheels F1 podcast. It's Paul here with...
Sean.
And Chris.
You went very
dramatic
No Lee.
pause.
No Lee and a quiet you, unless we've got some kind of Skype or Discord lag or something tonight.
No, it should be fine. I just said, I think I said it at the right time, but if it's laggy, then we'll say that pause was for dramatic effect.
Yes.
Yeah, that'll do it. How are we all this week anyway?
Solid.
All right, yeah, not bad.
Yeah, bit of an interesting return to Hockenheim at the weekend.
Yeah.
Hockenheim.
Nürburgring.
Hockenheim.
Oh god, it's been a long week and it's only Monday.
Yes, it has. Yeah, Nürburgring. I think that was we mentioned it on last week's pod, didn't we? The first race there since 2013. It's a classic race circuit, and yet again, it didn't disappoint.
It's very strange that the more classic non-Tilke circuits are providing the better racing.
Yeah, exactly.
Is it
I mentioned to you the week,
strange
didn't
or
I,
is
that-
it fully expected?
Utterly expected. One thing
I think it.
I was going to say, one thing that we were wrong about last week was it turned out there was 8 drivers that had driven there before. Although we weren't expecting Hulk at the time.
Neither was he, to be fair.
No, that was the early news. Now, I've seen that he said that he was drafted in. He was having a coffee in the morning, and he was like 40 minutes drive away or something.
Mm-hmm.
But on his Instagram that morning, before they announced that Lance Stroll was even not going to take part in FP3, he was already at the Nürburgring because he was expected to be working for German TV. So I don't know why he would have been 40 minutes away when on his Instagram he was by the roller coaster at the Nürburgring.
Unless he wasn't expected, unless he'd maybe been there earlier on, had buggered off somewhere for coffee, and then got the call.
Maybe the coffee's better in Cologne than it is in Nürburg.
Oh, of course.
Perhaps. Perhaps.
But yes, Hulk becomes the first driver to sub for 2 drivers on the same team
It's not a good start.
since Brendan Hartley, who is now not the most experienced at doing that.
No. To be fair as well, Hulk didn't start one of those races. That was it. The first race he didn't. He deputised in. His car refused to make the start. So in reality, he's only done. Yes, he's been drafted in for 3 weekends, but he's only done 2 races. He was a DNS at Silverstone.
But he's done 3 qualifying sessions, 2 races, and two lots of practice.
Yes.
Yeah, and his the fact that he had 0 notice, I don't think anyone really expected him to get out of Q1 into Q2. It would have been good if he did, but he to only be 4 tenths off getting into Q2.
Yeah.
That wasn't bad. It's a pretty good effort considering he had like 20 minutes in the car just before qualifying.
It must have been good coffee in Cologne.
I think we may have to do a road trip when COVID's finished just to find out what it's like.
And then we can drive around the old Nürburgring.
Yes.
That would make a good video for YouTube.
Yeah, we still need to do the TT course.
Yeah, we do. At
Is
some
it, I
point.
don't know if it's all functioning at the moment.
I mean, we've had the video of Shit Valencia, aka Douglas Prom.
Yeah, we have, yeah.
But yeah, we will do the TT course soon. Now, I got talking to the Nürburgring. I actually got sent a YouTube link by a friend of the podcast, Stephen Terra, earlier tonight. Someone doing a lap of what's left of the Sudschleifer.
Oh.
Yeah, the old South course, which didn't some of that make way to the Grand Prix circuit as is now?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, the 2 straights are on the Grand Prix circuit, but the rest of it goes through what looks to be an industrial estate, a housing estate, and a gravel road through a car park.
Nice.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, because the Dunlop curve, as we were talking about last week, the hairpin at the bottom of the circuit, I think that was there way back when they did the full Nürburgring. But it's, yeah, I didn't realise that part of the old Sudschleifer had actually, become a housing estate.
Yeah, the housing estate's built just off one of the corners, and the main road that runs around the perimeter of the estate is the old track. I'll post a link up on
Okay.
the,
Yeah,
post a
that
link up on the
sounds-
socials,
sounds,
and it's an
worth a
interesting
skeet.
one to watch. Yeah, there's it's this Dutch guy. He goes round old racing circuits, and wherever he can, he drives around them to show you what they're like now. I don't think he's done.
Has he got a Land Rover?
I think he needs to have, based on the quality of some of the roads that are still there.
I was going to say, you should go and do Hockenheim if he's got a Land Rover.
No, don't you need something a bit bigger that can uproot some trees?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, there are some trees in the way. Yeah,
Yeah, it's now completely off road.
yeah, it is. You can still see where it was, but it's off road now.
So anyway, back to the race. Yeah, like I say, it was a good one.
It held the interest for a couple of hours, didn't it? It was all right.
Yeah, it wasn't too processional. Bit of controversy about the safety car towards the end. Yeah.
As to whether or not they really needed it.
Yeah, I mean, Michael Massey's actually put out a statement saying it was obvious with George Russell's incident that a virtual safety car would do based on what it would take to get the car off the road, but with Lando's, yes, the car was parked next to a marshal's post, yes, it was parked next to an escape area, but they couldn't actually wheel it forward and wheel it through because it was beached as well.
Yeah, but and also didn't, because of the way that the car stopped when it completely died, it was kind of stuck in gear, was it not? So they wouldn't have been able to push it anyway if they could freewheel it.
Yeah, I think the whole thing had locked up, and it did need the crane to actually get it out, and makes sense. Michael Massey is taking a lot of crap at the moment, and yeah, not all of his
He's doing okay.
Not all of his decisions are 100%, but the problem is he's got Charlie Whiting's boots to fill, and it was going to be an impossible job for whoever took it on.
Well, it's not just that. His job is to keep people safe, and that's everyone. That's marshals as well as drivers and people in pit lane, etc. So if he sees and it's not just him that sits in an office by himself. You see him sat with the stewards. So there will have been a conversation, and he will probably, I think, a full safety car is the right call here. And there's a room full of, as I say, people who are experienced. They would have been able to say yes or no to him and say, oh, no, virtual is fine. Then, that conversation would have taken place. But it wouldn't just have been, no, right, that's it, full safety car, press the button.
Yeah, that's
because that's not how things work. A conversation would have taken place, which is why you don't always get the decision straight away, because they obviously have to make that decision quite quickly.
Yeah. Of course, this week the driver steward was, I'll go for acquaintance of the podcast, Derek Warwick.
Acquaintance of the podcast.
Yeah.
He's heard of us, hasn't he?
He's heard of us. He recorded all the drivers that did the 90 Minutes of Le Mans the other week a good luck pre-race video.
Very good.
Stunned silence from the Chris end of the conversation.
No, not at all. That's quite cool. But when I went to Jersey a few years ago and tried to find Nigel Mansell, my second choice, if I couldn't, and I'm not ashamed to say that, my second choice, if I couldn't find Nigel Mansell, was to go and find Derek Warwick, because he owns a Honda dealership on Jersey. But I didn't find Derek Warwick either.
With a workshop upstairs where he was apparently working on his grandson's go-kart at the time of the recording the video message. Because
cool, okay, yeah.
One of our iRacing regulars, Alex, lives in Jersey, or is it on Jersey? He's a Jerseyrian. Let's go for that.
In Jersey, I think it is.
We would say in the Isle of
San
Man.
Diegoans, yeah. San Diegoites, San Diegans.
What happens if you're from Goole? Like a lot of my ancestors, like a lot of my ancestors actually are.
Oh dear!
Yes, I come from a long line of.
What a load of ghoulies!
Yeah, I was going to say I come from a long line of ghoulies.
Technically speaking, we all do.
But one of our regular iRacing crowd, Alex, lives on Jersey. So he tracked him down and said, any chance he could do this? And he was like, yeah, not a problem at all. So it's like, a bit delayed, but thank you to acquaintance of the podcast, Derek Warwick, for doing that. This week's driver stewards.
Thank you, Derek Warwick. Yeah.
So that is actually two podcast-related former drivers that have been stewards over the last few weeks.
Yes.
Because actual friend of the podcast,
Johnny Herbert
was
was on the show, wasn't he, a while back?
Yes.
Which makes him a proper friend, not just an acquaintance.
Are we going to try and get him on full time sometime soon?
Yes, yeah, we're still working it, and if you're listening, Johnny, reply to your emails. Right, should we do the race review? Because there's
Yes.
It's what we're here for, really, isn't it?
I just thought we were here for people to listen to our witty conversation about anything but F1. Oh no, go to patreon.com/3legs4wheels if you want that. Nice subtle plug. Anyway, Williams at the back.
It was.
Right, so George Russell.
Again.
Yeah, George Russell with a DNF. Not his fault.
Not a great deal he could have done about that, and Raikkonen got a penalty because it was his fault. So
Yeah.
that was that, really.
Yeah, you get a Kimi in the kidneys, and all of a sudden you're sideways on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was totally Raikkonen's fault. He broke the record. We're going to talk record breakers, I imagine, at some point during this pod. But Raikkonen breaking the record for the amount of F1 starts, that wasn't his best race by a long shot.
No.
It was a fairly. I don't know if it was his tyres were just going off and he couldn't quite control. But when we saw the onboard, he kind of just corrected his steering into George Russell. Yeah. Penalty was fair, but again, it wasn't deliberate. It's just what happens.
It was just clumsy, I think.
Yeah, a bad racing incident. Because that was bad racing.
Yeah, it's not what you'd expect from a man of 323 Grand Prix.
323, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, it was 320.
That's what the
323
cake
this
said.
weekend. That is true. The cake. We'll get onto that when we do Alpha, the infamous cake. And also Latifi in 14th. Not the last of the finishers, but again, we don't know if he's any good or not.
He had a bit of a proper race with Kvyat over the last couple of laps. They swapped places a few times. He obviously came out on
finish
top.
ahead of Kvyat,
So,
didn't
yeah,
he?
he
Yeah.
did. Yeah. So he had a little bit of a battle and won it.
He must have done that. The final safety car period, about the only safety car period, must have done him well. In that case, remember they were talking about on Sky about how to speed up to get the tyres nice and warm beforehand. Maybe Latifi was a benefactor of that.
Possible.
Yeah, if it's possible to speed up in a Williams on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Only behind the safety car.
Yeah, Which of course, once again, was accused of going too slow and staying out too long. But
That's because of the temperature of the track, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, Bernd Mailander can't win, even though he spends more laps in the lead than just about anybody else. I will get my coat. Just one thing to say about the Williams qualifying performance, though. This was, and I actually checked back, this was the first race this season where more Mercedes engines were knocked out in Q1 than Ferrari engines.
That is a stat.
Because it also was the exact same starting position for Williams that they qualified in the last race at Nürburgring. Both cars were in the same positions as they were 7 years ago.
Oh, yes.
Zero
yes.
progress in 7 years.
Yes, 16th and 18th, wasn't it?
Something like that, yeah.
17th and 18th.
17th, 18th. But, so, yes, for the first time, Mercedes, this was thanks to Hülkenberg really not knowing the car. Mercedes had 3 engines go out to Ferrari's 2. It's been equal once this season, but every other race has been more Ferrari engines than anything else. That was my stat, and I tweeted that before Sean did.
Yeah, it's not surprising, though, is it, given the terrible woes that Ferrari have had this year?
No, that is true. So I think Ferrari are hoping for more stand-in drivers and Williams to enter 4 cars in future.
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. It was a bad luck in terms of George Russell. I don't know that he would have been able to have done much.
I don't
if
think
he hadn't had that.
Yeah, I don't think he'd have been on for points because he was lapping round the back of the field anyway, and
yeah.
as we know, Williams have designed a car for Saturdays.
Yeah, well, Raikkonen was passing him, wasn't he, or trying to
Yeah.
when they went round, and Raikkonen finished 12th, so he may have got may have been like 13th, a place ahead of Latifi, something like that. But
Possibly, but I think that's probably about
props to Williams.
possibly about the best. But I mean, Williams, we know for a fact we're not going to really see anything concrete from them for it's going to be 2022.
Yeah, it's they were also Rands.
Yeah. To be honest, I think we'll give the Williams the entire Antonio Giovinazzi Memorial Participation Award for this weekend. Because we can't give it to Giovinazzi.
Memorial, he's not dead.
According to Lee, most of the time he should be.
He's such a slow burner, Antonio Giovinazzi. Like every season that he's been in Formula One, and I said that he really needs to kick on this season, and he hasn't. He's just starting to now. He's beaten Raikkonen in the last couple of races, and now he's scored a point.
Mm-hmm.
Does this mean he's going to get another haircut and get rid of the man bun?
Oh, maybe.
Oh, I hope so. But then by the time we get to that, whatever it's called, the Loop of Bahrain, where they're going to be like less than a minute, I'm sure Giovinazzi, even though he's in an underpowered Alfa Romeo Ferrari, is going to be like fourth or something like that.
All of a sudden, Alfa Romeo and Ferrari have got massive problems. It's like, oh shit, what do we do with him now?
Yeah,
They'll find
well,
something.
we have signed Schumacher, but anyway.
And that was the big thing, of course, with Alfa this weekend. We were going to see Mick Schumacher making his actual current car Formula One debut on Friday morning.
But the rain had other ideas.
It wasn't the rain; it was mainly
Well,
the
it's-
fog.
Well, yeah. The
Yeah,
weather.
it was the fog because of the medical helicopter, which is something we're very used to here on the Isle of Man.
Yes.
Because on the TT course, there has to be no fog because of the only way to get an injured rider if anyone crashes on a 37-mile circuit is to fly them to the hospital. There's no way you can do it by road really, unless you spend like 3 hours going down country lanes, etc. And that's just totally not viable. So the only way to do it is by helicopter. And the rule is that the nearest medical facilities must be 20 minutes away.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is that right?
Yeah,
Yes.
20 minutes by road or air.
Mm-hmm.
And the nearest one to the Nürburgring is 25 minutes by road.
Yes. Hence, they need a
so
helicopter.
they had to do it by. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think Austin is another one, isn't it, that is very helicopter dependent.
yeah. There was a US Grand
Which
Prix.
is strange because it's not that far away from central Austin.
you would think, but apparently not.
Yeah, cause there was an FP1 at Austin that was delayed a few years ago because of fog.
I think it's specific facilities they need, isn't it? It's obviously like resource and trauma and all that kind of thing.
General trauma.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there'll be a hospital somewhere near the track. There'll be medical facilities in the airport, which is right next to.
Mm-hmm. Well, there'll be medical facilities at the track, but
Yeah.
it's if there's a bad crash, they need to be able to get them to the right place.
Stabilised and somewhere. So yeah, we lost all the running on Friday, which gave us our first 2-day weekend ahead of the one that we're getting in 3 weeks' time.
At Imola.
Yes.
In Imola, is it 3 weeks? Yeah, it's 3 weeks.
Yeah, I think so. That sounds about
Yeah,
right.
it is 3 weeks because we've got a weekend off this weekend again, haven't
Yeah, we got 2. Yeah, weekend off, and then we've got back-to-back with Portimao and Imola.
Yeah. So yeah, we didn't get to see Mick Schumacher or Callum Ilott making the debut. So something's going to end up getting rearranged for them, and I can't now see it being at Portimao because no bugger knows it.
I think they've said that they won't get another chance until Abu Dhabi, because they won't take them to an unfamiliar track.
Yeah.
And they don't want to do it at Bahrain because that's the F2 finale, so they don't want to distract.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it could be that there are 3 Ferrari Academy drivers doing Abu Dhabi.
So Vettel gets bumped from FP1 on his last
I
race.
don't imagine it would be Vettel. I imagine it would be here Haas. Here's a large quantity of money. What are you going to learn from
Isn't
Grosjean?
Schwartzman supposed to do the young drivers test after?
No, Schwartzman.
After Abu
I
Dhabi.
think he's doing both, isn't he? He's doing an FP1 and doing young driver, I think.
Yes, I think he is.
That might change now then.
Potentially.
Yeah. we could. It's going to be interesting what they
think-
put out.
Yeah, I suppose the advantage for Ferrari is by that point they will know which two were top in F2. So if Schwartzman ends up being third, they can quite comfortably at that point say, "Not this year, mate."
Yeah. Have a go next year when you're a reserve driver for one of the teams or
Yeah.
or all the teams. So anyway, Alfa Romeo, Joe Benazzi, he's coming together, got in the points.
We know Lee, if he was here, would be like, yeah, but shenanigans. He wouldn't have gotten the points if Norris and Ocon and Albon had finished. And be like, well, yeah, but you've still got to get to the finish, and those guys didn't. So
Yeah, and Jenson Button won a world championship if everybody else had a Mercedes engine, a Ross Brawn designed car, and a double diffuser.
correct. Yeah.
Take
So,
that, put that in your spec series and smoke it.
Yeah.
Too harsh?
Yeah. No, that's fine. Raikkonen with his penalty obviously was a bit further back because he had a pit stop after that incident with
Yes.
Russell, didn't he? So Giovinazzi 10th, Raikkonen 12th. They could have had a double points finish.
Well, Raikkonen had a pit stop under the safety car, which kind of gave him a free penalty.
He still had to do the 10 seconds,
Oh, he still
but
had to-
it counted less.
He still had to do the 10 seconds, but it wasn't as much of a hit because it was a slower 10 seconds.
That's not part of the rule that you have to do it under green flag conditions.
No,
just that you have to do it within 3 laps. No, that's a drive
Yeah,
through.
what
That's
you
not
can't
right.
do is-
You've got to do it at your next
At
pit
your
stop,
next pit
or it
stop,
gets added on at the end of the race.
Yes,
So I don't think
What you can't do is do it under red flag conditions.
correct.
Yes.
I've been stationary for more than 10 seconds. It's fine.
I am sure Ferrari are reading the rules, looking to see if there's a loophole. That is a loophole that they can exploit.
Oh, if there's one there, they'll find it.
Oh, hell yes. But Alpha looked a little better than they have been recently, because you've got to say for the most part of this season they've looked bloody useless. The pair of them and the car, just the whole combination. Hence the participation award.
Yeah, it's hard to know where Alpha stand, really.
Wherever Ferrari tell them to.
Yeah. And
Ferrari
Ferrari can't tell them to do an awful lot with the lack of power they've got in the back of that car. So
lack of power, but they were the only constructor not to have any retirements.
this is true. Yeah.
Reliable but slow.
No, there was another engine manufacturer that didn't have any return. Oh no, there wasn't.
No, there was
Oh,
one Renault, one Honda, and a few Mercedes.
Yes, of course. Yes, Ferrari engines actually made it.
Yes, they were all fine.
Yes, not thinking about that.
They were all slow, but they were functional.
Yeah, and talking of slow Ferraris, Haas next. K-Mag in 13th. God, he was beige.
Who did he have a bit of a to-do with? Was it Vettel?
Yeah, it might have been. I mean, he was so drab, Nico Rosberg could have skinned him and worn him as a suit.
Yeah, that was he. Vettel tried overtaking Magnussen, and Magnussen, instead of being like, "Oh, okay, fair enough," he's just like, "No, I'm going to fight this." Like, what?
Which is
Wait, hang on.
fine,
Why?
perfectly entitled to defend his position.
Yeah, battling for 12th and 13th. Two bald men fighting over a comb.
Exactly, yeah. But Grosjean, I don't know if this is down to Haas's super strategist again, or whether this was a call from Roman himself, but it was the fact that he went onto the hard tyres and made them last. Meant he didn't stop under the safety car and climbed up into the points. Roman Grosjean has scored points this year, everyone.
Maybe he should have gravel finger more often.
To be fair, I think that was probably extremely sore. Having formerly ridden a motorcycle and got winded by riding into a bee, I can vouch for like hitting small things at high speed feels a lot worse.
And I suppose when you're travelling at a relatively high speed and the thing that's flying towards you is travelling at a high speed towards you, it's going to hurt even more. And
Yeah,
it was gravel kicked up by the back of Kimi, I seem to believe.
He
That was-
blamed Kimi, yes.
That was the whinge. Specific alpha gravel?
But in the picture he put on Instagram of himself holding 2 pints shortly after the race, there is no sign of any damage to any of those fingers.
No, have you heard his post-race team radio?
No.
His engineer asked him how his finger was, and he goes, "I think it's fixed now."
Yes, that's how bones work. They just knit themselves back together while being G-forced around the place. It's fine.
Right, there you go, Dallas Cowboys fans. You'll have Dak Prescott back within a matter of hours.
Yeah, I think it's probably just one of those things. The gravel probably bounced off his knuckle, and that's going to hurt a lot.
Yeah, it probably did sting.
But like an hour later, it's probably fine.
No, it's broken.
No, broken.
Broken.
Right, what we got next? AlphaTauri, binary or what? Kvyat 15th, Gasly 6th.
What happened to Kvyat? He was... Did it? Oh, it was Albon, wasn't it?
He was rubbish.
No, he got hit by Albon.
Lost his front wing.
Yeah, and then he had damage affecting him for the
Albon,
duration.
Well, Albon didn't hit him, more of run over him.
Albon, to be fair to Kvyat kind of like didn't let him pass, but he made sure that, wait, hang on a second, I'm only in this place. When he came out of the chicane, and he knew that he was ahead of Albon purely because he hadn't taken the chicane, he's like, right, I need to let Albon kind of go in front of me here. So he sort of gave way to Albon. Then Albon just came across him so quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, Albon only overtook 3/4 of Kvyat.
Yes, and took the other quarter with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like Kvyat, give him his due. He's allowed to do this. Was clearly looking to tuck right underneath Albon to try and get DRS down the straight to fight back. He's perfectly entitled to do that. But he tried to race fairly, and Albon didn't really give him a chance to. Albon just took his front wing off, and somehow Albon got away with that. Although the damaged radiator, I'm not sure I entirely buy that story.
There
were a few raised eyebrows when he came in, weren't there?
There are theories on the internet, and there are lots of quotes which have raised a few more eyebrows. I mean, Albon did get a penalty for it. He got 5 seconds, and then we were very surprised by the fact that he drove into his box and then they jacked the car up, and we're thinking, you're not allowed to touch
the car yet. Hang on.
But yeah, I mean that really compromised Kvyat's race because he had to do a very slow lap. I think he got a puncture out of it as well.
Possible, yeah.
Because I mean he was fighting with somebody who was in about 6th or 7th at the time, and then just ended up at the back and never really properly recovered from it. Yeah.
Whereas Albon, after Saturday, everyone was like, "Oh, Albon qualified well. He's done really well here. Maybe this is he's getting it together. He did well in a couple of races now, so hopefully this is Albon being, the Red Bull driver that Red Bull want." And then he goes and does stuff like that when he's halfway down the field. It's just like, you're making it even harder for people to defend you. That's one thing you don't need to be doing right now.
He had a near miss with Gasly as well, I think, didn't he? A couple of laps later.
Yeah, because I made a joke about is he trying to destroy the AlphaTauri cars just so he's got nothing to be demoted into. I'm really on form tonight. I'm getting no reaction to any of this. Either that or Chris
I've heard that one already. You told that one yesterday.
I was hoping to hear something from Chris, but anyway.
No, sorry. But, not for that one.
But Gasly got away with it. Finished 6th. He's coming good again. I can't wait to see him in a better team. Get out of the Red Bull organisation and get a real seat.
Yeah, he did like a proper sort of what we would say Sainz drive, but Sainz did the same, where they just sort of don't get involved in anything. People kind of drop out in front and around them, and then all of a sudden they're in really good finishing positions.
Yeah, I don't.
Gasly's got a really good haul of points.
Yeah, I think aside from having a near miss with Albon, I don't remember seeing him particularly. But yeah, there he was with a strong point. So
yeah, definitely worked for him, and he just seems a lot more comfortable.
Wasn't he battling with Leclerc at the end?
Yeah,
wasn't Gasly battling with Leclerc towards the end of the race?
Got past him.
Yeah, I think he he was and won.
Mm-hmm.
So props to Gasly again.
Yeah, because Leclerc got 7th, and Vettel only half a spin this time because he managed to save it.
Oh, when he was passing, was it Giovinazzi?
Yes.
But then not obviously passing Giovinazzi.
Yeah, kind of lots of sideways, and then managed to get himself the right way around before he got overtaken by his own back end.
Spinella.
Yeah, Spinderella.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Vettel's checked out.
It wasn't a spin to. It was like a spin where he panics and sort of floors it like we've seen him in the past. And he did it as soon as this season in Austria, didn't he? When he thought Sainz was going to hit him. But it was more of a, oh shit, I'm going to crash if I don't avoid it. And in avoiding the crash, he spun, which is better than crashing, I suppose.
Marginally, but once again, we end up with a Ferrari in 11th. It just seems like at some point Saturday or Sunday, a Ferrari will finish a session in 11th place.
It's the curse of having Esteban Gutierrez for one season before Mercedes signed him.
Yeah, it's really come back to bite them big time. But either that car has been completely designed around Leclerc and everything that he does, or Vettel's checked out before the start of the season, or both.
I think it could be a little bit of both.
To quote Lee, you don't go from being a 4-time world champion to being shit overnight. But if you've got a shit car that's going to do you no good, there's no point helping develop it, because it's not going to really do a lot with it next year, and you're not going to be there.
Well, they've said they have a new engine for next year, Ferrari. So
there are engine upgrades available, but it's
they have used the phrase "new engine."
So it must be a new ICE that they're using all their tokens on. And we thought with Ferrari, typical organisation, they'd be getting a pencil troll.
Yeah. I've not said it's going to be any good, but it's it's coming.
Barney Stinson said new is always better.
Not really.
Yeah, that's going to be the... Then again, what could be worse than this year's Ferrari engine?
Next year's Ferrari engine?
We'll find out in March.
Oh, Ferrari fans are going to be switching off in drove.
So, do we have many?
Yeah, both of them. Yeah, see you later.
The thing is...
We'll see you in 2022 when you're competitive again.
No, I want Ferrari to be fighting for race wins because they're supposed to be. The thing is, at the moment it's Mercedes isn't kind of out front with Red Bull challenging every now and again. But then we haven't really seen a real race-winning fight from anyone else except Ferrari in like recent years. And now they've dropped away. We will kind of want to see McLaren and Ferrari up there, and other teams having a chance at perhaps winning a race without shenanigans.
Yeah, I mean, more is it to paraphrase Toto? The racer in him wants to see everything competitive at the front. The team principal in him just loves it when nobody else is.
Mm.
I'm gonna have to do.
Yeah, I can understand both points of view.
Gonna have to do something with the lag on Chris's channel.
It's not that bad.
Have I got lag?
You've got maybe like a second of lag.
Yeah, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Let me count the time. If I say go. Okay. Yeah.
Paul has a longer lag than me. It seems.
I think. Yeah. No. I think I've got a little bit of lag.
It's all right. It's nothing that our listeners.
Functional.
It's nothing that our listeners aren't used to. Where are we?
It does
next?
make it sound like I'm really slow.
Like a Ferrari.
Right, we'll move away from Ferrari to McLaren, and then you can speed up a little bit.
GP2 microphone.
Who are we on now? Sorry, McLaren.
McLaren next.
Well, speaking of the GP2 microphone / engine, it was lovely to see the return of Alonso's deck chair.
Ah, yes. Yeah, Lando is the new Nando. Yeah,
it wasn't really. We don't like seeing Lando retire, but yeah, it was a nice little recall.
Yeah, I mean that he was struggling with the car because it kept cutting out, losing power, getting the power back, and then it just went, and it looked like it was about to burst into flames
There
after
was
he parked it
smoke.
up.
There was smoke coming out the back of it. There were scorch marks on the side pods, so something radiatory had probably got a little
It was
toasty.
on fire.
Yeah, not ideal.
Not really. I mean, when
It was on fire.
I mean, it goes to show how tightly packed everything is inside the bodywork of an
Yeah.
F1 car when a hot radiator can actually start melting through the carbon fibre. And
Yeah, I think-
that just went.
I know he had a full power unit as well on Saturday night, did he, Lando Norris?
He did,
But
yeah.
he had a full power unit on Saturday night, and then he had was it Saturday or Friday? I can't remember. But anyway, he had a full power unit over the weekend, and he it sounded like there was something wrong with the MGU-K because it wasn't harvesting, and he wasn't able to get full deployment out of his ERS either. So
Yeah, because it was
he managed it quite well. But then dropped back a few places, and then all of a sudden he was pulled over, and we had a safety car.
because when he started to go, he was losing about 20 miles an hour on the straight.
Yeah.
And that is an unfeasibly large amount of speed. And it just turned him into a sitting duck. I mean, Carlos Sainz, meanwhile, in 5th place.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was being.
That was a weird noise from Chris.
That was a weird noise. You still there? Oh.
What was that? I'm still here. Yeah, you still got me.
Yeah, you made a kind of weird sploinky noise, and then it all went quiet.
Oh dear, GP2 mic. Yeah, Sainz had a disappointing Saturday, but then a really satisfactory Sunday. 5th place is a good finish for McLaren. Again, I know that somebody else on the podcast would say it's all because of shenanigans, but you got to finish with what you got in front of you, and Sainz did a really good job.
Yeah, you can't fault him. And again, it like you said, it was one of his just keep your head down.
Very
and,
quiet.
Yeah, get on with it kind of drives.
Classic Carlos Sainz, and I wonder where that kind of drive will put him next year, given that Leclerc has got the best out of the Ferrari by doing a similar thing.
Maybe with a
couple
better
of times this year.
Yeah, maybe with a better engine, we'll see him challenging for the odd podium every now and then.
Would be good.
Perhaps.
Until Ferrari screw his strategy up and take away a guaranteed 3rd and get him 8th.
Yeah, and also because Leclerc.
Yeah, it's going to be a shame to see him blatantly number 2'd, which I am just 100% of the opinion that is what Ferrari are going to do. There's been people that have been in touch on Twitter saying, "Don't be stupid. They've got 2 young drivers. They're going to be pushing them both." Bollocks.
I suspect that's what they plan to do. Whether Sainz can do like a 2008 Massa and force them to,
Change the whole plan round.
yeah. I forgot how to use the words there. That was
Put
good.
their world champion driver as a number 2.
Yes.
Yeah, I just can't see it happening with it next year. But even number 2 at Ferrari in a good Ferrari is not the worst place in the world to be. Is that you hissing again?
I did not hear hissing.
We are having
I'm
all
not hissing, but I mean my microphone might be.
we are having all the technical fun in the world. Yeah, it's showing on your track that you're hissing.
My apologies. I can't hear it.
I'll try and mix it out or something. God. Technical fun tonight.
We power through. It's fine.
We do get on. We make the best out of a bad situation, which, talking of which, it's Racing Point next, who definitely made the best out of a bad situation this
Very
weekend.
much so. The only team with both cars in the points.
It was. Great 4th place by Perez.
Yeah.
Looked at one point like a podium could be on, but for some quality defending by Danny Rick until Perez had finally lost the tyres on the last stint after the safety car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, getting the nomination for Rockstar in early, definitely Hulk.
Yes. For nicking Keke
No
Rosberg's
disagreements.
Porsche.
For last place to 20th.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, qualified at the back, yeah, all right, 0.4 off in an iteration of a car that he'd never been in before. Because even he said at the end of Q1 when he was doing the interviews, he was surprised by the number of changes that had been in the car since Silver's 2.
Yeah.
And he had to relearn it, but he thought that the 4 laps that he'd managed to get on Saturday, or the 4 flying laps that he managed to get on Saturday, taught him enough about the car to do a good job.
And don't forget, we know that the Stroll car has been getting the upgrades first, so that will have been
that is
more tinkered with than the Perez car that he was in earlier in the year.
Yeah, but what a monumental effort from Hulkenberg to finish 8th.
Definitely.
I mean, you're looking at 2 drivers there that got both racing points into the top 10. Amazing performance from both of them, and neither of them have got a seat for next year.
Next year's Haas lineup, it could
be. Did you hear Perez at the end of the race talking to Sky?
I did, but I can't remember what he said.
Said to Nico Rosberg, I hear I'm going to be your teammate next season,
Yes.
and then turned around to Simon Lazenby and went, and yours as well.
I did notice in that interview he didn't have a team cap on. It was very much a, here are all my sponsors on a hat.
I don't think he gives a shit anymore,
No,
does
that's
he?
the thing. They can't fire him, and it's there like, look how many sponsors I have.
I mean, if the team were to get rid of him now, it would cost them somewhere in the region of $3 million.
Yeah, it's just not worth the hassle, is it?
I mean, all those sponsors are on his race suit anyway, so... The only one that wasn't on the hat was, hang on, Racing Point.
Yes.
And JCB.
Yeah.
Oh, and the title sponsor as well.
Which comes with Stroll,
Yeah. But, I mean, there could be next year's Haas lineup, but Helmut Marko mentioned the fact that Perez and Hulkenberg are available next year if they want to look outside the organisation.
He does like to stir, though, doesn't he, old Helmut?
Well, yes.
Gunther Steiner has also said that he kind of hopes that Magnussen and Grosjean are both talking to other teams, and then we just then he was questioned as to whether or not that would does that mean that they're getting rid of both drivers? His response was no, it just means it strengthens their negotiating position when it comes to signing a new contract. Oh right, okay, Gunther, yeah, we believe you.
That almost sounds like he's kind of hoping someone else will just take them off his hands.
Don't vote them out of Formula One. Just take them away.
Someone else deal with them for a bit.
Yeah, that's like saying to your other half, if you want to go off and have an affair, don't mind, and then I can just go off and do the same. Yeah, I definitely
don't tell me about it. Don't tell me about it, but tell me when you've done it.
Let's have an open driving relationship. I get
like Hulkenberg at the Racing Point.
I just get the feeling that we'll see both of those on the grid full time next year because they are too good to let go. I mean, it's not.
Both people are doing really good jobs.
It's not completely certain that Renault got Ocon on a 2-year deal, but does that 2-year deal say that he has to be a race driver for him and not just a reserve?
Well, anyone can be bought out of a contract.
Oh yeah, I mean F1 contracts, as we've said before, aren't worth the paper they're printed on. It's usually, arrangements can be made. Remember all the fuss with I'm doing a Lee again. Jenson Button, is he going back to Williams? Is he staying at Renault? He says he's signed for one. The Renault said that they owned him. He said he'd signed a pre-contract agreement with Williams and goes to the contract recognition board, and then Williams end up having to pay his wages to Renault so that they paid his wages.
Yeah, I mean the Guido van der Garde thing from a few years back.
Yeah.
What was it? What was it? Sauber ended up doing 5 drivers for 2 race seats in a reserve.
Like that, yeah.
Yeah, four race drivers for 2, but Van der Garde was the only prick big enough to turn up in Marcus Ericsson's race suit and claim he was driving.
And the money was just resting in Manisha Kaltenborn's account.
Well, no, he didn't even have, if I remember this rightly, he didn't even have a paddock pass for Australia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he broke in somehow.
So he somehow he somehow got into the paddock, went to the Sauber garage, and took Marcus Ericsson's race suit and put it on. Because he had Ericsson's flag on his and number 9, which was Ericsson's number, and just sat in the garage. He's just like, "You're not driving." He's just like, "I've got a contract." Like, fuck off.
I mean, he's become a lot better on Twitter since those days.
He is a bit, yeah. He
can
does have
be
the
quite
James
funny.
Blunt vibe on Twitter.
Talking to James Blunt, somebody I work with today who is very, very young managed to confuse James Blunt and James Brown.
No, they are not the same. No.
Get on up.
Just done in a very squeaky posh voice. Right, I mentioned Ocon, so do Renault next. Danny Rick, first podium in a non-Red Bull.
Yes. This was good.
Yep. What is Cyril going to get tattooed, and where is it
First
going
one
to
since
be?
Monaco 2018.
Yep. And Renault's first podium since 2011.
Malaysia 2011, I believe it was. So, yeah, Danny Rick did do a shoey back in the garage afterwards. He forgot to do it at the time,
That's
but
good to hear.
he did get round to it.
Must find the footage of that. It's going to be out there somewhere.
I think they tweeted it. Yeah, I think Renault
right.
tweeted it.
Fair enough.
He's been knocking on that door for so long, though, hasn't
Oh,
he?
yeah,
He's been knocking
it's
on the
been
door of
coming.
a podium, and he smashed it down on Sunday. Like he held that position so well. Was he held up behind Leclerc early doors? Was it?
Yes, yeah, Leclerc
Leclerc and
sort of
Ferrari,
backed
he's
everyone
held
up.
Yeah, when I
But as soon as he got,
oh, sorry, I was going to
I would
say,
say, as soon as he got free from Leclerc,
yeah, because I accused Leclerc of being the new Jarno Trulli.
yeah, but as soon as he cleared him, he was away, and that was it. Then it was just like, well, is he going to catch those front 3 drivers? And obviously he didn't get close, but it was good to see him kind of leave the train behind him until that safety car.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we thought it might be a little bit iffy when he pitted, because he pitted at the end of the virtual safety car, and that's what lost him a place at first, because he did 2 stops. He did one under the VS. Well,
He did, yeah.
He was coming in just as the VSC was ending.
Yes.
And that was a little bit unfortunate. 30 more seconds, and you know, he would have been further up the road.
Yeah.
But
But a lot of the other ones around him hadn't pitted under the VSC, and that's when he then sort of regained.
yeah, he might, you know, it turned out. I thought, oh, they've fucked up, but it turned out to be a great tactical move, because when nobody
it
else
was a
came
good
in,
call.
yeah, he was like you say, he was there or thereabouts with the ones that hadn't pitted, and then could just breeze past them when they went. Then he pitted under the safety car, and then lost the place to Perez, who then that forced racing point into bringing
they
Perez
realised,
in.
didn't they, a lap later, like, oh, he is going to be a sitting duck.
Yeah.
Let's get him in.
So gave him the third back, and then defended fantastically after the safety car against Perez, because he was having a real go.
Yeah.
Yeah, had a good go at Verstappen as well.
Yeah, I will admit, I was part saying, yeah, go for it, and another part of me who got a 9-pointer this week in our prediction league was thinking, don't go for it, keep the car safe, hold third.
Yeah, and that worked for me as well. I got a 6-pointer, so I'm all right. So.
I must get last week's predictions up on the website.
Yeah, because you didn't mention my 9-pointer at all last week.
The 9-pointer that you got for Sochi.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no one mentioned that.
No,
But yeah, you shoehorn yours in.
You had opportunity to shoehorn yours in,
I'm not a big head. I didn't feel the need.
I like that. I'm not a big head, meaning that you are for mentioning it.
The implication was there.
Who was the first person to mention your 9-pointer?
You were the first person to mention 9-pointer. You started it.
Yes, dear. We've all been getting 9-pointers recently. Anyway, yeah, great defending by Danny, and then just hung on, brought it home in third, and I want to say there will be other races with shenanigans again, but I don't think that's the last podium that we've seen from him this season. We know the car's capable.
Yeah.
under certain conditions, and we certainly know the driver's capable. So maybe the Renault plan of first we go for podiums, then we go for wins, then we go for championships. So maybe watch out for them in 2022. Now they've broken the podium duck.
You still think it's a long way away, though.
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah. Also, podium duck is the best thing to clean podiums with.
Yes.
Well, they were using ducks, weren't they, on Friday in the rain and the fog?
Yeah, the Williams duck has its own Twitter account.
Does it now? I have not seen this.
Yeah,
on Twitter.
the Williams rubber duck. It turns up at every race.
Excellent. Keep an eye out for that.
Was George Russell spotted doing keepy uppies with the Mercedes rubber duck?
Again, that passed me by.
So George Russell and Latifi messing about with
pit
with the
board.
pit board.
Yes,
Wait.
Latifi tried to put himself as in P1, and George Russell was having none of it and quickly put him in P19.
Very good. P1 and then stuck a 9 after
Yeah.
it. There you go.
Stuck it out on the end, worked perfectly. Right, Red Bull next. Verstappen in second and Albon. Alex.
Well, we've kind of already discussed Albon, haven't we, with the whole Kvyat thing. He qualified so well, and like I said, I thought it was like not the second coming, because we haven't really had the first coming of Alex Albon yet. But the real sort of surge that he needs and that we think he could do, sort of just staying inside a pit window behind Max, he just wasn't there. He just wasn't. The race started and he just fell away. And he did that stupid thing with Kvyat, and then that was it. His race was ruined. And then all of a sudden, Red Bull are like, yeah, just bring him in. That's not bring him in because we think his race is ruined. That's bringing him in because there's no point in wasting this engine on this race anymore.
Yeah, and at one point he claimed that both AlphaTauris were racing him too hard. So
it was a bit of an entitled message, wasn't it? It was very, I'm in the Red Bull, let me through.
Go somewhere else then.
Or race them back.
That's
what
else
you do.
Don't race him for. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're in a faster car,
Don't
be
race-
faster.
If this is too hard.
I mean, the official excuse was what? Punctured radiator, because he got
Something like that,
He got some gravel in it and it punctured it, so there was a leak.
Wasn't there somebody ran wide in front of him, and that's what they're saying when they kicked gravel up onto the circuit.
Yeah, but we know from
somebody ran wide, I
Grosjean,
think.
we now know from Grosjean, had he carried on, probably would have healed itself.
I mean, the only thing that's likely to have punctured his
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing that's likely to have punctured his radiator was Kvyat's front wing.
Yeah, which if that was the case, no one to blame but yourself.
Yeah, this is true.
And
also.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, drop a fried egg in that radiator. Everybody knows that fixes one.
I mean, I've been defending Albon all season because certain elements of the quartet that aren't here tonight, their opinion on him is he's a nice guy, but, and then the bile and the vitriol come out. But it's very hard to defend him after a performance like that, which was pretty much indefensible.
Yeah. It's he's not making it easy, is he? Poor Alex Albon. But I mean, I just don't know what they're going to do with him. Whether they push him back down to AlphaTauri for next year and get somebody else into Red Bull, as you were saying, Hülkenberg or Perez, both available. Do they maybe go for a bit of youth and get somebody they think might be a bit subservient and
Well,
just don't know, do you?
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is now with the Honda deal finishing, Tsunoda's off the table because Honda aren't going to want him in the car.
I mean, officially, he is a member of the Red Bull Junior program, but he's there because Honda have put him there. So whether that's
what that does to the rest of his career, God knows.
Yes, I think he may turn up somewhere else next year.
I think.
Where's Yuri Vips?
Yuri Vips is interesting, because he was meant to be doing Super Formula this year, couldn't get to it because COVID. Has been doing
dragged
F2.
into F2.
Yes, so he came in for Sean Gelael, who broke his back. He had been doing one of the sort of meh championships. I think it was
Formula European Regional.
Yeah, with like Arthur Leclerc and some other children no one's heard of.
Stuart Albon.
I don't think there's a Stuart Albon. But yeah, he's
Stuart Albon.
But yeah, he came into F2 at very short notice and hasn't done it before. Did very well in F3 last year. Has looked all right in F2.
Bit of an iffy first weekend, but that was the first time he'd actually been
That's
in an
fine.
F2 car, so you can
His
excuse him
teammates
that.
Dan ticked him. You're allowed the odd iffy moments.
Yeah, I think Vips is a way off. I don't think I'll get the super license. Oh yeah, that was the big news that came out this week. Super license points at the moment, due to COVID, are now valid for 4 years instead of 3. So they're not removing the 2017 points for next season.
This is good for someone like Vips who found themselves not in the championship they should have been in because of coronavirus and has ended up essentially kind of losing a year. So that's going to be he's going to be the
It's also
sort
good
of
for
person.
Jolyon Palmer.
Is it now?
Yeah, because that means Jolyon Palmer will get to keep his super license.
What's he going to do with it?
Red Bull are looking for a driver.
I
Well,
don't
we
know
don't-
that you're on the list, Jolyon.
Yeah, well, we don't know that they're looking for a driver. I am literally doing a Lee and summarising my own thoughts as fact.
I don't think it's fact that they're in talks with Jolyon Palmer.
I don't know. I think
No.
he's interviewed a few members of the management a couple of times in his.
I have been speaking to the management of Red Bull.
I've also been speaking to Red Bull by email about 2 years ago.
No, you're
Anyway.
You're too old for the Red Bull Young Driver program, but you may be able to replace Gary Paffett on the McLaren Young Driver one.
Technically,
Yeah,
is
possibly,
Alonso not doing the young driver test?
Unsurprisingly, they've changed the fucking rules for him.
Yes.
He's also doing a filming day this week.
No, wait, hang on. That doesn't work. He can't do a young driver test if he's still got his super license points.
Their argument, the argument that Renault have put forward is because he is joining a new team because he raced for another team in between, or well, 2 other teams in between racing for Renault and rejoining them. He is therefore new to them and therefore is classed as young.
And he's,
That's a lie, but okay.
That's what Cyril Abiteboul says.
and apparently Renault booked the Circuit de Catalunya, Barcelona, for the full day tomorrow, where they're going to be doing a filming day with Alonso in the current car.
Why? Because it doesn't look like the car he's going to be driving next year when it's an Alpine.
Yeah, but he's got all those black and yellow hats that Kimoa made that he needs to shift.
True.
And also, rumour has it, the 2018 car that has got this year's aero on it, that Danny Rick and Esteban Ocon tested at Austria the week before the Austrian Grand Prix, is also at Catalonia, so he can drive that without speed and distance restrictions.
Oh, well, that'll be fun.
The circuit was asked for a comment about is it Renault and is it Alonso, and they said, what was it? The circuit is booked, but the client is confidential. It's like, no, the amount he fucking tweets. There'll be a
I'm just looking at his Instagram now because if something's happening, he'll be there with a hat.
I was going to say the best place to look is actually the Kimoa web store, because there will be a I'm not allowed to tell you that I'm doing a test, but I'm doing a test hat.
I want to say that Fernando Alonso is going to have severe trauma when he pulls out of that garage tomorrow and starts going down the pit lane going, wow, yeah, Barcelona with a new team. This is something I haven't done for a while. Oh shit, turn 3.
Gets up to 88 miles an hour for turn 3 and wakes up in 1995. Oh, hang on.
Yeah. I'm 14. I just won the World Karting Championship. Okay, Fernando. We're just going to put Kevin Magnussen in the car for the first race, okay?
Where does that leave us? Max Verstappen, second place, looked handy in qualifying. Was keeping very much on pace with the Mercedes on Saturday.
Yeah, it looked like he was going to get pole at one point.
Yeah, I think it was a combination of, on Saturday, it was not a great Sector 3 and Bottas, fucking hell, you can tell it's World Porridge Day. which it was on Saturday.
Yes, it was, yeah. But also, I think that during the race, rather than sort of, we used to see in this like 20-second, well, not 20-second, but a decent gap build where it's comfortable back to Verstappen. He was keeping the Mercedes pretty honest, and I think Mercedes did have a bit of a sweat on when Bottas retired, thinking, oh God, okay, well if Bottas is retired, do we need to maybe look at the other car and think, how could we, we got to do some managing, and if we do, is Verstappen going to come at us? And then all of a sudden, those last few laps where the field all bunched up, and the small advantage that Hamilton had built was wiped out, and it was safety cars. So, well, Verstappen's not got really anything to lose by going for a first turn lunge here, other than looking like a hero, or he takes them, or he takes Hamilton out of the race, and
and Danny Rick wins.
Yay!
Yeah, absolutely. But he wasn't quite close enough. I think he struggled a little bit more on his cold tyres after the restart, as we were saying that Ricciardo was giving him a good run for his money rather than Verstappen going for Hamilton. But I think it was a really well managed race by Max Verstappen, and especially to get the fastest lap on the last lap as well.
Yeah, that was spectacularly done. I mean, the gap. I don't think it was more than 10 seconds between.
No, I think it got up to about 7.5, 8, something around about there.
It was 10 just before the safety car. And that was the most it was. Now, normally between the Mercedes and anything else, you would see a much bigger gap.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, quite likely, especially with somewhere where Danny Rick in third was like a minute behind.
Yeah. Is this what we can expect from two-day race weekends? And if that's the case, can we have more of them?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Well, we've got 2-day race weekend at Imola. Are they lengthening what would be FP3 for Imola by an extra half an hour?
Yeah, it's going to be a 90-minute session.
Yeah, I thought so, just for them to get a little bit of data in, because that was the one thing that kind of ruined everyone's race. Not ruined their race, but it was an unknown quantity going in that nobody had any tyre data, because it's been 7 years.
Yeah,
these cars have never been at the Nürburgring. These tyres have never been at the Nürburgring, so they had no relative data to really go on going into Saturday. So they kind of had to get that quite quickly. A lot of cars ran high fuel runs at FP3 and just thought, well, we'll have to just treat Q1 as it comes and just see what we can do in qualifying.
But yeah, the entertainment value was.
Yeah, for me, that's what they need to do. They need to do 2-day weekends. I quite like that. I don't think I'm now on board with the don't really need Fridays.
Just have Fridays as lower formula practice and qualifying days, and then. I mean, I know on our chat Lee was saying, "I'll just bin off F3," but no, I think F3 is still a vital part of it. Mm-hmm. Bin off the Porsche Super Cup. You can have Friday as you could do F3 practice, qualifying, and even race 1, and then
but I mean
F2 qualifying
and
practice,
F1 media as well.
Yeah, and have that as a media day for the F1 drivers. It would also give the lower formula drivers that are coming up a chance to see the media day at first hand, because they'll be there at the circuit, and that's the kind of thing that we want to get them involved with too. And then bin off the Porsche Super Cup, and you've still got room to have longer practice on a Saturday morning for F1, an F2 race, an F3 race, and an F2 race and an F1 race on a Sunday.
Yeah, I would go with that.
And then it saves having to get up at stupid o'clock on a Sunday morning.
That is always a bonus.
So we can fix an F1 weekend just by scrapping the Porsche Super Cup.
Ta-da!
Does anyone care about the Porsche Super Cup? I don't think it would be missed.
Porsche.
It's not a feat. Well, no, fuck them. Porsche, are you going to provide an engine to Formula One, or are you shit cars just going to piss around the track for half an hour before the actual racing starts?
It's rich guys driving into polystyrene.
And for some inexplicable reason, it's on 2 different channels. The Sky show it and Eurosport show it simultaneously with different commentary teams.
Waste of bandwidth. So, Mercedes. We'll start with Bottas. Faultless qualifying, certainly in Q3. And then it all just went to crap.
Well, defended very well, or fought
Yeah,
back very
fantastic.
well at the start.
Yeah.
After losing out to Hamilton, you would, normally think like, oh, there we go,
Yeah.
normal service, but no, came back, was good.
Got the place back. I mean, Hamilton did.
Yeah.
Hamilton did try and take him onto the Nordschleifer at turn 1.
Yeah.
It was it was definitely the scenic route round that
But
corner.
everyone seemed to go that way. It's like, oh, there they go. Oh no, everyone else is doing that line as well. Okay then.
But cold tyres on a colder than normal track. I think what was the track temperature at the start? It was something like 15 degrees.
Was it as warm as 15?
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah,
think it
something
was.
like
No, the track
Oh,
temperature.
the track temperature.
Yeah, air temperature was about 9 and the track temperature
I had
was about
9
15.
in my head. Yeah, that would probably be what I was thinking of.
So, yeah, grip was something that was happening in other countries.
Yeah, not at the Nürburgring.
Yeah, and then Bottas just lost power. I mean, you don't see that with a Mercedes.
No.
No, it's very rare for Mercedes to have a reliability problem. But after what had happened in Sochi as well, with Hamilton's penalty and sort of Bottas taking a few, not a massive chunk of points, but 10 points off of Hamilton. It's like, well, is there scope for Bottas to do something here? And then he was so impressive on Saturday. It looked like that he might take another chunk of Hamilton's points, off the board. And then he made that mistake going into turn 1, which allowed Hamilton, who was already closing in on him, to have a go at him through turns 2 and 3. And then, after that, it was kind of the Hamilton show out front with Bottas, as you say, having an issue and then not finishing. That, to me, that's the pendulum swung now. I don't think it's going to swing back.
Yeah, all right, slightly different circumstances in the way that it's worked out, but that's the Malaysia 2016 moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very possible.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
He really shredded that tyre when they showed the flat spot on it.
Yes. Yeah. No. The first set of tyres had definitely seen better days.
3 of them looked okay, and one of them looked a little more than done. If that tyre was a steak, I'd have sent it back and said, "Can you get me a new one, please?"
Yeah. Yeah. But I do feel a bit sorry for Bottas because I don't think he had the race won necessarily, but I think he had control over. I think he had control over it until he made that mistake. But when you're tired, is it going off? You do need to manage him a bit better. He's not a rookie. He raced at Nürburgring last time, in 2013, as I learned from Sean during last podcast. But the thing, you can't make mistakes like that if you're going to be going or you want to be fighting for a world championship. And I don't think it's finished completely, but I think that I don't see it swinging back the other way. It's going to need a Hamilton, 4 or 5 races in a row to have a bad race or not finish for Lewis Hamilton to really lose his grip on this championship.
And that's not the kind of thing that Hamilton does or that happens to Hamilton.
He can have a bad race or a retirement because that happens, but he's nearly got 69 points or something. He's got such a massive buffer now out front. Nearly 3 races worth of points, 3 race wins.
Yeah, I think it's something like he'll win it in Turkey if he outscores Bottas by 19 points in the next 3 races.
Which is not a great deal, really, is it?
Not really. What's that? It's feasible. 3 wins and Bottas doesn't get a fastest lap.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 3 wins and 3. That's the difference between 3 wins and seconds, isn't it? Really, let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it is a Mercedes 1-2 for the next 3 races, it's just got to be Hamilton getting 2 out of the 3 fastest laps, and then the title's his. Nobody will ever won the championship in Turkey before. But moving to the other side of the garage and the Schumacher record equaling winner. took the most of the opportunity that he was given.
Yep.
And ran with it. Yeah, he didn't run away from the Red Bull as much as we were expecting. How much of that was down to the Red Bull? How much of that was down to perhaps, like you say, car management and not opening it up fully after Bottas had a reliability issue?
Yeah. Maybe, quite possibly.
Just to get the car home, but it's the only way that you win races, by getting the car home.
Absolutely. I've got to be honest, and I know I'm pretty sure I will have mentioned this before on the podcast, but when Schumacher retired the first time in 2006, and I was just like, wow, Formula One without Schumacher. Because at that point, I was like, I genuinely can't remember Formula One before Schumacher joined, because just the time I started watching, I think he had always been around. And then I never thought anybody would get close. I thought maybe somebody might win, 7 world championships. That maybe wasn't impossible if somebody came in young enough. But then I never thought the 91 wins would be equaled. And then as Lewis Hamilton has slowly crept towards it, and I think a couple of years ago we were like, if Hamilton has another couple of dominant seasons, he's going to be on Schumacher's record. I've always kept one eye on it, and I think I've said after every race, what's that now? 75, 77, 82, 89. Oh shit, he's gonna do it, isn't he? It's gonna happen. All of a sudden, there he is, 91 wins, and when you consider the guy in second place, or rather, third if you want to say, is Sebastian Vettel, 53.
Yeah, and that's
You know what I mean? It's such a mountain. It's a mass. We're actually watching the sports history unfolding in front of us, and I know people think it's a bit sessional, a bit more hands again, but this is the sports history literally unfolding in front of you. The record breaker, breaking all the important records, which, fine, they're there to be broken, but I never thought they would be.
No, I mean, to be honest, I'll be the first person to say that I didn't think anybody would actually get to seven world titles again. It wasn't going to happen. There's no way that one driver, let alone one team and driver combination, can be so dominant for so long. After Ferrari, every team was going to be massively up in the game and doing everything that they can to stop one car and driver combo from being so dominant, or seeing who the dominant driver was and pulling them in, and maybe the car didn't work out for them. And that's the way that I thought it would go. And to say
we thought about it with Vettel, didn't we?
Well,
when Vettel won his 4 in a row.
Yeah, and that move to Ferrari, it's like, oh my god, maybe they've got it right this time. How many more is he going to win there?
Yeah.
This is why when we're talking about doing Formula One bets on a weekend, I never put any on.
Yeah, I put one bet on and I didn't win any of that money. I didn't see any of that again. Never mind, it happens.
Yeah, one of the guys on Discord actually got bet on the top 3 at 12-1.
That's all right.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah.
Congratulations to whoever that was.
I'm just trying to. Just going into the chat now, because he's got one of those quirky usernames. Yeah, 2001 Vauxhall Astra.
Oh.
Fantastic. I hope he drives a 2001 Vauxhall Astra.
Well, he won 120 quid. He can afford to buy one now. He did actually say he was thinking of becoming a Patreon because of that win. So if you do, thank you very much.
Putting the money to good use.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
Thanks very much, Mr. Astra. Or can we call you 2001 just to be informal?
Yeah, that's what his friends call him.
Right,
Yeah.
as is usual at the end of the race.
Rockstar.
Rockstar.
I was just going to say, I'm going to do a Lee and just say one more thing.
Of course.
And I know I mentioned this on our chat thread, but I want to mention it on the pod as well. Do you think now it's kind of set up for Lewis Hamilton, the Ayrton Senna fan, to maybe not win at Portimao next time out and somebody else takes the win, and then break the record at Imola, which for so long was a dirty word in Formula One because of what happened that weekend in '94. To almost like rewrite the history of what's happened at that circuit, and to do it at the circuit that his hero had that fatal accident. It's almost, if you put that on a Hollywood film, no one would fucking believe you.
It would be the equivalent of the Kubica movie where the last scene is the visor coming down and you see the start lights at Australia.
Yeah, you don't need a follow up to that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be meaningful, and it would sort of bring Imola back to having happy thoughts about the place, rather than something depressing and a weekend that none of us want to remember.
No, and I think as I say, Imola will always be remembered for that weekend. But if something historical and monumental and positive can happen at Imola, rather than always remembering, because don't forget Formula One raced there for 10 years after the Senna Ratzenberger weekend.
Yeah,
but for it to just be, for it to have a positive note, especially on the return to Imola, that would be magical for not just for Lewis Hamilton, but for Formula One, because again, as I say, you could not write that. The kid who cried when he found out that his hero had died that day at Imola, then goes and breaks the record for the most amount of wins at that circuit some 26 years later.
Yeah, it would be one hell of an ending to that movie. Can we get Ron Howard on the phone?
Yeah, I think we need to. Yeah,
he's been to races, hasn't he? He'll be following it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
He could have the idea.
He made Rush, which was an accurate motor racing movie.
Yeah, and very, very, very good.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen Rush yet, 1Y, 2, do it.
Yeah, agreed.
Oh, sorry, Bruno was on my lap and has just launched through my lap.
The joy. So were we about to do Rockstars and Wankers?
We were about to do Rockstars and Wankers before your very poignant piece and Bruno's very pointy claws.
Yes.
Right,
Bruno Wanker.
Rockstars. Hulk, no brainer.
Yes.
Danny Rick.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yes.
Provisional Rockstar, if he goes through with it, Cyril Abiteboul.
Yeah, I think he said he will go through with.
I mean, he said the original tattoo discussion was drunk talk.
Yeah.
Apparently, Abiteboul decides the placement.
Yes.
And the size.
Yep.
And Ricardo decides the design.
Correct. Those appear to be the terms.
And I'm sure Sky will get a 20-minute filler documentary out of it.
Oh, yes, we'll be seeing that during rain delays for the next 5 years.
It'll be better than real-life Mario Kart.
Oh, Christ.
And what's the betting? It's called A Bit of Tattooing with Cyril Abiteboul.
Oh,
God.
Yes.
Because I'm sure Alan Partridge works for Formula One Sky.
Well, if it isn't called that, it'll be Monkey Tennis or Youth Hosteling with Chris Eubank.
Monkey Tennis. Oh, dear.
Wasn't there a band over here for a while called Monkey Tennis?
Oh, there should be, if there hasn't been.
Chris, you know what we need to do.
New band.
Yeah. Right, any other Rockstar nominations?
Can't think of any.
Will say Mick Schumacher as well for the handing. I know he only handed the helmet over to Lewis Hamilton, but that was a nice moment as well.
Yeah.
He said to Lewis, "Records are there to be broken, man. Well done, congratulations." And then handed over the helmet from 2012 to Lewis, which is also a bit iconic because Schumacher was forced into retirement the second time, if you remember, because he was replaced by Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah. We've had a couple of nominations on Discord. Hamilton as a rock star for equaling the record. So, you've really got to say that.
We don't want to sound too much like a Hamilton fanboy podcast, but as I say, the history is unfolding.
Kimi for his F1 accomplishments and getting that record. However, it's a slightly dinted Rockstar one for what he did to George Russell.
That is a wanker move.
Yeah,
what he did to George Russell.
Friend of the podcast, George Russell. So he's a wanker and not quite a rock star. So we'll call him a member of Chicago. The Nürburgring for being a cool track in general.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
Right, wankers.
Lack of rain.
Funnily enough, that's the first one on Wings Triumphant's list as
Yeah,
well. And it's the first one on mine.
It was promised, and it didn't happen, although it did happen like an hour after the race.
We didn't get wet podium Daleks this time.
No.
It hung on that long.
Albon, I think.
Albon, definitely.
Yeah, possibly. Totally ruined Kvyat's race, and Kvyat was the last of the classified finishers, I think.
Yeah.
And you've got who else? Possibly. No, it's probably not fair to say Ocon because Ricciardo did such a good job. Ocon's retirement wasn't really his fault, was it? So.
No, I think I can't remember. Was it hydraulics?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
no real fault.
Yeah,
when one side of the garage has such a celebration, you don't want the other side of the garage to be like, "Well, that was shit." But that's where I was coming from with that angle. But I mean, it's not really Ocon's fault.
Yeah.
So can't really call Ocon a wanker.
In fairness to Ocon as well, he was there in Parc Ferme, ready and waiting to celebrate with Ricciardo. So he took it.
Good.
Took it well.
Yeah, I think Ocon gets the Giovinazzi Participation Award for being at the circuit at the weekend.
He was nearby.
he was in the air. He was closer to the circuit at first than somebody who got points.
Yeah. And it's not COVID, is it, for Stroll? So we can't say that COVID's a wanker for keeping Stroll out. But it's
it was a
wanker.
Stomach upset.
Wanker and Rockstar. Because it made Nico Hulkenberg return, and wanker because no one wants to see anyone being ill.
No, that sounds fair.
That is true. Now there is a rumor that Albon had an inconclusive COVID test on Friday, and Hulkenberg nearly drove a Red Bull instead of Albon. If his second test had turned out positive, then we'd have seen Hulkenberg driving a Red Bull and Stoffel in the Racing Point.
Good Lord. Yeah, Stoffel was pissy, wasn't
Stoffel
he?
was on standby.
And then it turned out he wasn't needed, so he played Call of Duty all weekend.
All branded Team Gear.
Yeah, full kit fragger.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was there. He was at the Nürburgring. He was not required because Racing Point decided on Hulkenberg.
Where was Sergio Setti Camera then? Because is he not Red Bull reserve?
Possibly not in Germany.
How bizarre! You would assume everyone would have the reserve, but
yeah, don't forget it's kind of tricky because Stoffel is the Mercedes. Racing Point and Williams reserve.
Officially,
buy an engine, get a free Stoffel.
Also, is he not McLaren's official reserve?
He's Stoffel.
Possibly, yes. I think he's doing like quadruple. He takes a very full suitcase with him to every race weekend.
I thought Sergei Sorokin as the sort of Renault Jobsworth was McLaren's.
Oh yes, he is. Yes, yeah, he comes.
No, I think McLaren's official reserve drivers are Gutierrez and Van Dorn, weirdly, even though they're Mercedes drivers.
Oh, they've got them on a year in advance.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I'm just going to Google that. I'm right-handed Googling and holding my microphone in my left hand.
Yeah, some kind of bizarre try before you buy scheme.
Yeah, well, they've already tried Van Dorn. They know what they're getting there.
Yeah, it's Stoffel, Van Dorn, and Esteban Gutierrez are McLaren's reserve drivers, and also Racing Points.
This is all very complicated.
According to Wikipedia, they've also got Paul di Resta as a test driver.
Who?
McLaren.
Even though,
Okay.
They have Paul di Resta and Oliver Turvey and Will Stevens.
somebody.
Oh no, not Will Stevens.
Will Stevens.
Will Stevens, who's
I
driving
thought he left.
GTM.
I thought he left after he called Grosjean a Muppet, which is still one of the best team radios ever.
This is only according to Wikipedia, so it could have been could be a faux pas. But yeah, they've got Stoffel, Gutierrez, di Resta, Turvey, and Will Stevens.
So that might change in 20 minutes' time after this podcast comes out.
Shh.
Happy St. Wayne's Day. Like what we
Indeed.
did for a pub
Tuesday
quiz.
news.
One other thing that we'd like to put in tonight, with Halloween coming up and the current state where if you go out, you really should wear a mask just to protect everybody else. One of our regular listeners has got a range of funky-looking reusable Halloween cloth face masks. If you go to Etsy.com and do a search for The Dread Seamstress, she's got a range up there. Apparently shipping worldwide as well.
That is good news for the F1 fan.
That is true. She's based in the US, but like I said, ships anywhere. Decent prices, handmade, and you're helping out a small business, an F1 fan, and a podcast listener.
Which is always good.
Which
we
is
like
good.
to help out a podcast listener. What are the designs?
Let's have a look. We've got some funky Halloween skull ones. She sent me a picture of a. The only way to describe it is all the ingredients that make up a pumpkin spiced latte.
Oh, interesting. Seasonal.
Definitely seasonal. And let's have a look. I think there's a couple of glow in the dark ones as well, and some in very autumnal colours.
Daniel Ricciardo has been going through a fine line of brightly coloured face masks. He could do with a glow in the dark one, maybe.
I think that'd probably look good on him. I think we need to introduce the two. It's just a shame we don't know Daniel Ricciardo. And that is the end of this week's Jump Cut. Right, even though we are Leeless tonight, anybody fancy a shunt?
Yes, let me
Go on, then.
put my phone away. I'll stop Googling Will Stevens.
Right,
Yeah,
I'm guessing it's not Will Stevens.
right. I am able to shunt
Will
tonight.
Stevens.
Let's have a look. I've got a couple in here. No, we have done that one. I will do one that we haven't had from regular shuntist Santerio Nasty.
These are always tricky.
Ah, yes.
Right, I'm pretty certain we haven't had this one before.
All right, if we suddenly find it that we know it after about 3 clues, that probably means we have. But...
Right. Okay. Well, I'll see what we can do. I was born. Can I get a yay?
Yeah.
This is the correct way to start the show.
In 1975.
Okay.
Okay, so 45.
45 this year.
A brimful of Asher. I'm best known for being a pay driver.
Right.
Okay, so you're dealing with quality here.
Yes.
So somebody who was maybe somebody who was a pay driver. If we're talking like a F1 pay driver, we're probably looking at somebody early 2000s, maybe.
Yes, that's when I think you'd be looking out for someone of that age, wouldn't you?
Okay, clue 3, and I'll need a guess after this one. My career began in 1999 as a test driver.
There we go then. That's the correct kind of age.
Did we just hear Jinx in the background?
No,
Yeah.
was it not Bruno?
Was it Bruno?
I
No.
thought I heard Bruno.
The Jinx is not in the room with me.
Must have been Bruno.
She might be outside the room.
I thought we'd got a rare pod appearance from Jinx.
I have my headphones on and the door is shut. She might be outside. I wouldn't have heard her if she was. But
I heard
I'll keep the headphones slightly off my ear.
I heard what I believe to be Bruno noise. So, 1999 test driver.
Okay, and I do need a guess.
I don't...
How old's Mark Webber?
Was he a pay driver?
No, not really. Good point.
You wouldn't... yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know.
Tricky.
Do you want to bank the guess and we can move on?
could do. I am underwhelmed with guesses.
Yeah.
Okay.
We should really give a guess, though, shouldn't we, after 3, let's be honest.
Right, so if they're test driving in 1999, if they get to F1, it's probably going to be a couple of years later. Patrick Friesacher's always a good banker.
Whoa! Where did you pull that one from?
I don't know.
That's from the Hulks. Goodness me.
Is that who you're going for?
I know very little
Yeah,
about him, so I
let's
can't say
do
it's
it.
not him.
Right, cool. Clue 4. The last open-wheel race of my career was in 2004.
Not Patrick Friesacher, because he did, I think, do the Indy 2005. He was one of the few.
Okay. And he was one of the... Was it Minardi drivers, then?
I think so, yes. I believe that is his only points finish in F1.
Okay. So what's the next clue?
Okay. Since then, I've raced saloon cars in my home country and trucks in Brazil and the occasional sports car event overseas.
Ooh. Pretty certain
So
I'm
we
going
could
to...
be
Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, we could be looking for someone Brazilian, then, if they been racing a lot in Brazil.
Yeah.
Hang on,
And
I'll
then-
read you
There was
that clue
something
again.
about home country.
Since then, I've raced saloon cars in my home country and trucks in Brazil.
So it sounds like the trucks are a separate
Oh, okay, sorry.
concern.
A lot of countries do saloon car racing, though, don't they?
Yeah, I
Nearly
mean
every
that's
country in the world.
NASCAR essentially is a form of that.
Yeah, but also touring cars.
Yep.
Um,
GT in WEC is, you could argue, is a type of saloon car racing. It's a fairly broad spectrum.
Well, got another clue.
It is.
Another clue before I need another guess.
okay.
So, clue number 6. My highest F1 finish was 8th.
Right. Which in the early noughties would have been a point, wouldn't it?
Yeah, from like 2002 onwards. So maybe raced roughly around the period where they changed the points from 6 to 8, top 6 to top 8. Okay.
So we do need a guess after this
We
one.
do,
That
we
was,
do.
That was clue 6.
A pay driver.
Pay driver who did trucks in Brazil and generic saloons. I'm not brimming with ideas.
No, neither am I.
Santeri, it looks like you've got us again.
For now.
I mean, there are still a few more clues, and there is a spaffer.
I think we will need the spaffer. I'm gonna go out on a limb now and say I think we're gonna need that.
But I mean, Pedro Diniz is too old for that, isn't he? Because I mean, he was racing in the 90s, so it's not Pedro Diniz.
I think as well. Did he not do? I think he would have maybe had a slightly higher finish.
Probably. He was like the classic pay driver though. And anyone who needed a pay driver, they went to Pedro Diniz.
Like Arrows Yamaha, and he paid Damon Hill's wages in 97.
Yeah. In part of the 40 and Pacific sort of line. I don't know if he was ever driving for Pacific, but he definitely drove for the 40 team, which were didn't last very long.
How ironic, a team that was named after their top speed. So I do need a guess. I
don't have one.
You've got some cats.
Yeah, I've got the cat back.
Ralph Furman?
Oh. I can't say that it's not him, so why not?
Who Lee has repeatedly called the ugliest driver ever to get behind the wheel of an F1 car.
Well, that's a claim.
Didn't he race under an Irish license, but was actually British?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was racing for Jordan. I think that was one of the conditions of Eddie giving him the seat.
Why not?
You go for Ralph Urban?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, go on.
All right. Next clue. This is number 7. I drove the 3rd most kilometres out of all the drivers in the 2000 F1 season.
Right, so reliable but shit if they've got 1 8th place finish.
I was about to leap with it being Takuma Sato, but I'm fairly sure Sato scored podium.
I don't know if he did a podium, however, IndyCar is open wheel and he still does that.
Of course, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, next clue. My career highlight was when I overtook Mika Hakkinen and I ran as high as 3rd before I ran over my pit crew and shortly after dropped out of the race.
Okay, now this is talent, isn't it? That sounds vaguely familiar.
Bells.
It does sound familiar.
I know we were joking about Arrows before, but I think this might have been an Arrows driver. I think it probably Joss's teammate, Jos Verstappen.
Let's see. Your next clue. I am the most recent driver from my country.
Interesting.
The most recent driver
from his country.
Okay, so we're looking at somebody who hasn't been in the sport, or a country that hasn't been in the sport for a little while.
Yeah, so 2004.
We lost we lost the Brazilians, didn't we, when Massa retired? But
yep.
That
was more recent.
Twice.
Yeah.
So what? Trying to think. Could we be looking at something like an Argentine?
Someone like Esteban Tuero. That might be a really good shout. Esteban Tuero would have been around. I don't know, he probably was around late 90s, so that's the only thing.
Yeah, I think he might have been slightly early. I'm just trying to think of somebody who might end up in Brazil but not be from Brazil.
Yeah.
Right, rather than a question 10, we have 2 spaffers.
Oh.
I'm declaring 2 of these clues as spaffers.
Right.
I will let you choose.
Okay.
Do you want spaffer 1 or spaffer 2?
I have no strong feelings about the order of the spaff.
Neither do I.
We'll go for spaffer 1.
Yeah, that's probably the traditional way to go about it.
Okay. My last name literally translates to kill the dog.
Oh, it's Argentinian is correct. It's what's the first part of the second name?
It's going to be like Mort or something if it's...
No. It's something Carne. Is it Mazzacane?
And the first name? I'll give you the other spaffer to get you the first name.
On. Oh, go on.
I share my first name with a Disney villain.
Disney villain.
For some reason, the only one I can think of is Scar.
No, got it. It's Gaston Mazzacane, isn't it?
Ah.
I am Gaston Mazzacane.
Excellent.
Oh, I needed 2 spaffers to get that.
I'm counting that as an away score draw for Santeri on that.
Yeah, I think there was a difficult set of clues.
The fact that we needed both spaffers was that was. I don't know if we can claim victory on that because we needed both to get it.
Well, yeah, we needed a direct clue to each part of the name.
Yeah, the only Argentinian I could think of was Esteban Tuero. He may not even be Argentinian, but I'm pretty sure he is.
I think he is. Wasn't he the one that held David Coulthard up in Monaco one year, and Ron Dennis went to. He was driving. I'm pretty sure he was driving for Arrows or Minardi. Ron Dennis went to his team and said, "If you don't let Coulthard past, you are out of this sport. Your driver and your team, and I'll see to it." But he was holding Coulthard up for position because Coulthard had spun.
Oh dear. Well, if it's for position, nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. Apparently, when that happened, Ron Dennis monumentally lost his shit.
Wow.
Right, if you want to send in a total shunt, you can send it to Lee, who does them most weeks, but couldn't make it this week because apparently he's been on the internet too much, so Mini Shunt has taken away all his privileges and locked him in his room.
Seems fair.
I mean, to be honest, if you've seen some of the stuff that Lee posts, you'll agree with Mini Shunt. But you send him in a direct message to Lee on Twitter or Instagram, and he is at a total shunt. I'm desperately running out of reserve shunts for weeks when Lee's grounded, so you can send them to 3legs4wheels@gmail.com, and I'll be able to put them in the reserve pot. If you want to get in touch with us directly, we are at 3legs4wheels on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and individually on Twitter, we are
At Sean Cowper.
Is in there somewhere. Well, I'm
At Flood21.
There we are.
and I'm at Pablo100.
I'm still here at Flood21.
We got you. It just came through a little late. We hope to have the technical internet issues fixed by next week, which is why we're extending Formula Lee Vietnam race for another week, because it was meant to finish tonight, but as there's kind of internet-y based issues, I can't actually get the times. So we're going to extend Vietnam for another week, and it might give me a chance to have a go as well. We will be back next week in one form or another, where we'll be looking forward to the first Portuguese Grand Prix.
I am looking forward to it as well, I think.
The first Portuguese Grand Prix at Portimao.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
Yeah, first one at Portimao since, well, Estoril was what, 97? Was it? Is that the last one?
96. The infamous 97 Portuguese Grand Prix got cancelled because of the state of the track and moved to Spain.
Oh, someone's done research.
And we all know what happened there.
Is that the Jerez?
And we all know what happened at Jerez in 1997.
We do indeed, yeah. Okay, very good. Very good.
So, yeah, I've been looking things up. I've been Googling properly and everything. We'll be back next week. There'll be some kind of lineup. Dan says hi to everyone because we went out for brunch with him and Mrs. Danterby yesterday.
We did. It was good food.
And he will be dropping into a show very soon. We'll try to get him tonight.
I hope Dan drops into a show sometime soon.
We will do what we can. I'll bribe him with scotch. That's usually a good idea.
Yeah.
Dan is compliant after the right amount of scotch. We just need to do some research to find out what the right amount is, but on a Monday, could be tricky. I think that's about it from us. We will see you next week. Bye-bye.
We will indeed.
Bye-bye.
Thanks very much, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.